Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast with your host, Mike DeHaan and Dan Austin. From wins, losses, horror stories, and tactics for optimizing your business, Mike and Dan take a real, uncensored deep dive into the ins and outs of running a full-time real estate investment and wholesaling business.
Justin Dossey. What is
What's
that,
up, buddy?
Dan? We're going to start with that.
Yeah, let's just roll that way. This is the energy we got.
This is the true, authentic podcast experience. Dan's in apparently a metal shop. But Justin Dossey, founder of Ballpoint Marketing, call porter, investor. I mean, I'm going to say brother of Ryan Dossey, even though I'm sure you hate being labeled that way.
That's
but,
all right.
He definitely does have a pretty big social media following.
He does.
Yeah. How you doing, man? Appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got a lot going on. And what I love about all the stuff that you're doing is you are kind of like at the pillar of being a service provider for real estate investors. Between Ballpoint Marketing, which is your mail house.
Yep.
We have used Ballpoint Marketing. You guys do the handwritten letters. They're awesome product. It's funny, actually, in one of the episodes we were talking about your Christmas ones.
Beautiful, beautiful letters
that I got here.
Nice.
So we plug those on the episode that came out in the middle of December.
Well, we just sold out of those, so hopefully no one tries to buy them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good to know.
It's a good problem.
And you also have a call center through Call Porter that we use and we have used for years and has been great. But you are one of the few people, I guess, that we've had on the show that is really solving problems of other investors and not solving the problem of where are deals, right?
Yeah.
But actually providing solutions, people do that themselves. So I'd love to hear about kind of all of that and, what your business looks like, your background and everything in between. So
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And thanks again for having me, guys. For those of you who don't know, we've known Mike and Dan for a couple of years now. Gotten to know them really well, and it's a pleasure to be here. So, kind of start off with everything, started out as just a typical Midwest kid, right? I know you guys aren't in the Midwest, but probably the same where you're at.
You got to explain typical Midwest to us.
So typical Midwest is you grow up in a lower to middle class type home and you stay there till you die. Is essentially.
Wait, yeah, but you skipped a part, which are the photos I like to see on social of you and Ryan with your emo stage. Is there always an emo stage? Because I have been in the Midwest and I randomly met a guy at a gas station that was very emo and he was a cool guy. But I'm just saying, does every Midwest kid do this?
Not everyone, just the weird ones. Just anyone that was
the guys you meet at gas stations.
Yeah, right. Especially my age. I was in the whole 2004 to 2007 is when I was in high school. So all the emo bands were at their epitome at that point, Under Oath and all those guys. So yes, my wedding pictures are band pictures is the way we get them. So you guys can find me on Facebook and find those. But yeah, had the long hair, but typical, at least in our area. I'm outside of St. Louis. Kind of grew up lower middle class, and it's most people are just stuck in that typical rat race where you make some money, then you buy more expensive stuff, and then you're still stuck living paycheck to paycheck and just continue that cycle over and over and over again. So I always knew I wanted to do something different and not be in that role, but I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. I wanted to be a cop at one point. I'm glad I didn't do that. I wanted to do sports, wanted to be a music producer, wanted to be in a band. There's all kinds of shit I wanted to do. And I didn't even really realize what we were doing until I was 28, 29. I left my W-2 job when I was 20, I'm 33 now. So I was 28. 2017 is when I left my W-2 job. Nice. And it basically started we worked in call centers, and that was our livelihood for years. If you've ever talked to anybody selling extended warranties, that was me. Sorry.
You're that guy.
I was one of those guys.
You're the one white guy with all the overseas people that are doing the same thing.
Yeah. So St. Louis is known as the mecca for car warranty companies. They're I got fired from 6 of them, and probably 4 of them went out of business also.
Wow.
Interesting.
So yeah, anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But Ryan, my brother, had started this little like call center on the side of just people taking his phone calls. And then a couple buddies were like, hey, I need phone calls taken too. And at that point, I had been managing a call center and I hated what I was doing. Not so much the people, but more the culture. I kind of hit a glass ceiling, couldn't go any further, you know. And so I got the question from Ryan, like, how much of a pay cut can you take to quit and come help me? He's like, either that or I'm just going to close this down and not do it. So
yeah,
finally,
and let me just preface this by saying Ryan, your brother, at this point was running a pretty successful wholesaling operation in Indianapolis.
Correct.
Right. Yep. And so he had started this call center to basically keep receiving calls from leads that were coming in. Yeah. So he didn't have to like manage that with a single person in-house. He'd actually built a robust system.
Yeah, because like you guys know, like first person to answer the phone gets the deal typically, right? First person that gets their speed to lead, whether if it's phone, text, cold call, whatever. And the reason he started it is he had a guy call on a Friday, and he was like, I'm hanging out with my wife, I'm not going to answer. He's called him back on Monday, and the guy was like, I sold it to the person that took the initiative and answered the damn phone, and he missed out on like $20,000. So that's kind of how like Call Porter started, and we hired people from the industry that we knew. So scaled that, grew it. I think we've got 30 agents at this point now, and they'll basically, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about with Call Porter, we take all of your inbound calls, build rapport. We answer as if we're your front desk receptionist. So Mike and Dan, people call, they don't know that it's not them. So we answer using their phone, their company name. We'll build rapport, find out what's going on with the property, take notes, book appointments, and then send the lead over to you in your CRM. New feature that you guys might not know about is we're also doing lead management as well now. It's kind of newer, but we'll basically work currently, if you're using Recently is the only CRM we'll do it in, but we'll actually nurture those leads for you, do the text messages, do the follow-up calls, try and get them to an appointment so you can really step out of being the solopreneur in your business and focus more on going to appointments, getting contracts done, things like that.
That's awesome. And so as lead managers, do you guys provide like scripting, or how do you guys adapt, I guess, your agents to specific businesses or regions for that lead management?
Good question. Regions isn't something we've typically had to worry about much unless we get like a lot of Spanish speaking people in a certain area. We don't have a solution for that at the moment on the lead management side. But what we do is we've got essentially a certain amount of agents that are assigned, let's say 20 hours a week out of the 40 to do lead management stuff. So they'll basically go in, and if there's specific things you're looking for, specific criteria you're wanting, they'll be able to have all that information on their side to know what they're doing, what they're looking for. Just like you do on the inbound side, right? Like if you're not worried about, if you want anything close to retail, you don't want it, they won't send it over. Similar type thing. If someone's like, hey, last year people were selling for 30% over retail, that's what I want. It's not going to happen anymore. So they'll be able to go through and get you the information and the leads that you're looking for. We'll typically do like an onboarding call and kind of find out what we're looking for and go over the explanation of how the process works too.
Sweet. Cool. Perfect. And so I guess what is the typical cost for that? Because that is a big thing that comes up with various people, especially as it starts to scale, is lead management is a pain. Like I know for Dan and I's business, there's 2 periods in time where our business very distinctly changed. It was when we hired our first acquisitions manager, and all of a sudden we had someone whose time was fully committed to getting these leads, and she crushed it out of the park. She got 7 deals in the first 2 weeks for us. And then the second time I'll say our business changed is when we hired our first lead manager, which to be fair, we completely lucked out with like the unicorn that we hired, who was this guy based out of Nicaragua, who unfortunately no longer works for us. But he came in, strong sales skills. He was an expat who lived down there. And all of a sudden, all of the leads that our acquisitions manager couldn't handle, or like that were slipping through the cracks, he was able to reignite them. And that was kind of like the second resurgence of major success that we had. So like it's a big thing. So I guess from, using that through Call Porter, what's like the cost? Like what sort of exactly do they do? Sure. Like how does it take into account the fact that they might call 40 people and no one answers?
Yeah. So it is relatively new. So we are still tweaking things as we go. So I will preface it with that. Like it's not perfect yet, but what they're doing is it's basically 20 hours a month currently for $500. And what they'll basically do is each session that they do, you get an hour per day per week. There will be other packages and stuff that'll roll out with higher volumes and lower volumes based on what people need. But what they'll essentially do is, I believe it's active now, but they'll screen record the session that they're doing. So we have an archive of everything that they did. And that way, they're not just sitting there on Netflix. But basically, they're going to go through Resimply, because that's the one we're working through right now. But they'll basically go through, find the leads that are in like follow-up status or don't have statuses assigned to them, things that need to be worked, and they'll go in and do phone calls, text messages, and try and nurture that lead to an appointment. And they're going to set up follow-ups for themselves. They're going to basically be that person working within that CRM to make sure that, if you've got 10 people that are close, you want to continuously be in touch with them, and that's what they're going to do. Our biggest thing that we look at is every single lead that is in your CRM should have some sort of next action. And for those of you who are listening right now, if you've got a CRM and you have leads in there and they don't have anything attached to them and you're thinking, I'll remember it, no, you won't.
No, you won't.
You're going to forget.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many leads we've missed because we're like, yeah, next Tuesday, I'll remember that at noon. And then next Tuesday comes around and I don't know what I had for dinner the night before. Like, you're not going to remember that. So our rule of thumb is like every single lead that's in there needs to have a task or a next action assigned to it. And that's what they're going to help manage and do all the calling and texting through Resimply too. So there is like a historical record of what they've done, who they've talked to, conversations that have happened, and so on.
Okay. Nice. So you said an hour per day. How many days a week?
Or just 5 days a week. So it's 20 hours a month, basically. So 4 weeks times 5.
20 hours.
For $500 right now.
That's not bad. That's pretty good, actually. Yeah.
It is doubling in January. It's kind of like our beta pricing. So it will be $1,000 a month, but I think it'll probably be 30 hours at that point. Don't hold me to it, anybody, because we're still talking about it. But we'll be having a couple tiers for different needs. Some people need more, some people need less. But so far, we've seen good success with it. And we've pulled a $15,000 assignment fee out of it ourselves here in St. Louis by doing it, just from a lead.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it had been sitting since like, I think like May or so. And it was a whole crazy scenario of what happened. But there was a squatter at the house and I hadn't followed up with him. It was one of those leads that did not have a task assigned to it. And we forgot about it. And it was just sitting there. Yep. And I think it was Zoe, who's a girl on our team, went through and got in touch with them. He was like, hey, the squatter's gone. I got him out. Really want to sell this. And we're able to move it for $15,000. So it's been worth it for us so far in just a couple months.
Awesome. Yep. Yeah, that's great. Cool. Yeah, that's a pretty sweet deal, especially for, if someone's trying to figure out like the nuances of what that should look like too. You could probably even learn a lot about like what a lead manager should look like just from hiring someone that's already experienced for that role. Because that's the other thing that's super challenging too is, you can go and you can find an overseas person or something that's like somewhat cheap to help with that. But the next biggest challenge people have is they're like, well, how do I even teach this person what I need them to do?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys have had VAs and stuff overseas. Are you guys similar to where like our process is when we hire somebody, we have especially if they're overseas, we have their tasks outlined of what's expected, when it's expected by, and then that document has like a Loom video on how to do it step by step in deliverables, basically. Because I've hired people where I'm like, help with customer support. I train them on how to use some of our systems, and then I'm like, why aren't you doing this? Because you didn't tell me. That's fair. I didn't.
Yeah, that can be a problem.
Yeah, especially with virtuals too. That's kind of the joke I make is, you can tell a virtual, hey, go and like edit this spreadsheet, and they'll download the spreadsheet and they'll go to like make edits to it, and you'll go back and say, where's the spreadsheet? I don't know where it is, and I didn't upload it to the drive. You say, why? It's like, well, you didn't tell me to do that part.
Yeah, it's very
like, it
literal.
should be obvious, but for some reason they
they're bright, and it's not that they're dumb. They're bright. Yeah,
they just follow the
directions.
Binary. Yeah,
it's a culture. I think it's a cultural difference from what I've seen, but like it's very literal. Like if you tell me one thing to do, I'm going to do one thing. Tell me 9 things to do, I'll do all 9, and they'll be done perfect.
Right.
But I learned that the hard way. Where similar thing. I'm like, well, where is this? And they're like, well, it's over here. I'm like, well, why isn't it over here? So tell me, put it over there. All right.
Touche.
Right. You're right. Here's where you put it, and here's when it needs to be there.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. So that's cool. So yeah, so Call Porter, you know, it's a call center for investors, and it's a great service. We've used it literally since like day one.
It's been a long time.
I mean, honestly, we never answered our own calls, even when we first joined CCF.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
And we were plugged in the Call Porter right away. And I mean, that was huge because especially when, I mean, we first started doing this, Dan and I were both working jobs and we didn't have time to be answering the phone in the middle of the day, you know?
Totally.
And because it's like you said, the speed to lead is just so important and that can't be understated. And even though, you know, sometimes the reps, they say funny things, they pronounce the city wrong, they do like all this stuff. Like the thing that I do like about Call Porter is you guys are super responsive. If we say like, hey, you said Spokane wrong, it needs to be said this way. It's usually good for a couple months until the new person comes in and didn't get the memo, which is fine.
Yeah.
But then like having a bad first call or even like, you know, a mediocre first call is better than having no one answer.
No answer. Yeah. Better than voicemail, 100%.
Yeah. Well, and there's the speed to lead is obviously probably the most important thing. But for me too, like if you're listening to this and you've never taken a seller lead call off of direct mail, they're stressful as hell. Like if you're already having a bad day for whatever reason and you get a call of somebody calling in cussing out at you because you sent them a piece of mail, like there's certain people, if you don't have the right personality, you're going to take that personally and hold on to that. It's going to ruin the rest of your day. So like
totally
for us, it's nice to not have that stressor of 30% of our calls being shitty calls of people being mad. And like our team at Call Porter, they're fantastic with handling them, and we give them like flexibilities. We run contests. We work with them on personal stuff to make sure that like they're not the people that are holding on to all that like negativity that comes in. But we also do a really good vetting process when we hire people to make sure that like they've got the experience, they've got thick skin, they know how to not hold on to 25 phone calls from the last 2 hours of angry people, because it's going to happen. So it really allows us to just not even have to, I don't even hear about it anymore, honestly, unless it's a really funny one. Because those,
I'm sure you guys get some good ones.
We had a guy call in pretending to be Satan for 30 minutes.
That's cool.
2 months ago. I've got it recorded on my computer.
That's great.
30 minutes?
Oh yeah, like down to like literally talking about like he's gonna go to hell this weekend and, you know, hang out with his friends, and then he'll be back to torture people here in St. Louis. Like nice. Just all kinds of, he's like,
oh Jesus,
you know why? Because my name's Kevin Satan. We're like,
Kevin Satan.
Yeah, like all right, that's a new one. But yeah, there's all kinds of entertaining ones that come up. But I mean, there's just not having that stress is worth it for us.
I think the point you make is huge too, because you want your acquisitions managers to be as productive as possible, and having them because our salespeople are emotional people. They go up and down with the emotions. And so if you can clear out the stressful or the bullshit, let a call service take the initial calls and get rid of those Satan phone calls. And if you can have a lead manager doing that, just like heavy follow-up every day, that's heavy sometimes, right? When you're calling 40 people that are not answering, you're calling and they're like, shut the fuck up, leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you. Like get rid of that, so your AC manager is only focused on the good, high quality leads. There's a ton of value in that.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Give them the quality top 20% to focus on, and not have to worry about the bottom 80.
Exactly. And I think that's huge is your guys are 24/7.
That's massive. Yeah.
That is new, but yes, that is 24/7, not 365. We still have to give them holidays off, but 24/7 has been great. Even though like call volumes are low at night, it's nice that no matter who calls in, they're going to be handled.
Right.
Well, we'll justify that for you. We made a $15,000 fee about a month ago off of a crackhead that called in at 3 a.m.
Perfect.
And the rep was dead tired, man. I think she might have been sleeping on the phone, but it didn't matter because an answered call was better than no answer at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
And that was a weird deal too. So the too long didn't read on that deal. The seller was deaf. And mute and was a crackhead and had to like call in through the service where she like signed to somebody on
relay
and then they
service.
like did over the call. So the cadence on it was really weird. And the rep was like,
Yeah.
What?
Well, and it's really weird because you don't get that, like when you would talk to her, like the rep would be super nice. And like the reps, when I would talk to him, would also like have sidebar conversations with me. So it's like initially you're like, what's going on? And you don't get the real sense of like, oh, this is a crazy crackhead on the other side. So I have to talk differently.
Yeah.
Like
totally.
we didn't get that. We missed that whole part of the conversation.
They're like, whatever you say, I'm saying back. So
exactly.
Yeah. I used to deal with those all the time, like in the car warranty industry.
Oh,
couple a week, and it's always so awkward trying to have a conversation through somebody else that like tone is probably not coming through the conversation.
Definitely not coming through
it.
So
awesome. So cool. So you run Call Porter, and you also have your other business, which is very important for investors, the Mail House, Ballpoint Marketing.
Yep.
So I guess which Call Porter came first,
Correct.
and the Ballpoint came after the fact, and what I guess spurred going into that as opposed to just using a mail house that already existed?
Yeah. So funny story behind it. So Ryan, my brother, likes to do his thing is he likes to do cool shit other people don't do. This is why we fly paramotors. That's why he got me into it. Cause like most people don't do it. And it's friggin' awesome.
Nope.
So he's trying to like think outside of the box, and he found these handwriting machines from a company, and they were only set up to do signatures at that point. So he reached out to the owner and was like, hey, could this write a letter? Like if I want to do a handwritten letter to somebody, is this possible? The guy was like, oh, maybe, I don't know. We just do it for signatures. So they kind of programmed some stuff. We're able to figure out how to write letters on it. And at that point in Indiana, he had bought the home next to him to use as like the office, and basically just did it for himself to give himself a competitive advantage. And like, hey, I'm the only one that has handwritten direct mail for real estate investors on scale. He had done a previous campaign through somebody else that hand wrote the letters himself, but Ryan had to stuff the envelope, he had to lick the envelope, he had to put the stamps on.
Gosh.
Had like it's like a kit car, right? Like you got the pieces and you just have to put it together then. And he would only do like 200 pieces for like $1,200. Like it was very expensive. So he did it for himself for a couple of years, and then he had a business. I think he was doing it most of the time we were using started Call Porter. And I think he had a business coach or something that was like, you guys are playing real small by keeping this to yourself. Like there's more than enough competition. Quick sidebar for you guys are worried about competition in your market, like there's plenty to go around. Unless you live in like a town of 300 people. Like even in St. Louis, we're maybe under 1 million, something like that. And it's like, I have no concern about anyone else that is marketing. Like there's plenty of deals to go around. So once we got over that mindset hump, started pushing it out to some friends, kind of like how we did with Call Porter. Came through a coaching group that we were running. Ryan still runs today. And the funny part of it is I had no intention or any idea of ever wanting to run a direct mail company. I don't know anything about direct mail. And I get a call from Ryan like 3-4 days before my anniversary in 2019. And he's like, hey, I moved, obviously, as you know. The guy that I left running that is stealing money from me and just running this into the ground. Mike, you might have been around at that point, but like,
yeah, I think we just started then.
Lead times for mail were like a month and a half. Like it was horrible. Luckily, people were patient enough to wait through the month and a half wait time to get the better results. So we drove out to Indy on a Friday, and he's like, hey, you want to run a marketing company? I was like, yeah, sure. I don't know what I'm doing, but sure. So we brought it out to St. Louis and went from myself and one employee to now we do like 600,000 pieces a month or so, 4 or 5, or probably 500,000 pieces a month.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, over the course of 3 years, our turnaround time's like a week and a half tops. So that kind of got started that way. And really why it's so important with us is it gets opened, right? Like most mail that you get, like on my desk here, this is from a client of ours, but you'll usually get like, the printed postage on here. It's got the envelope, little window on here. And if it's not from somebody you know, you're typically going to just toss it out. I don't have any other ones on my desk, but typically they get like pre-sorted postage on it. And the problem with them is they get lumped in with junk mail, right?
Yep.
Here in St. Louis, we get junk mail on Mondays. I'm sure you guys have a day you get your junk mail too.
I never paid attention to that. I did not know that.
That's funny.
Most people don't know. There's typically 1 or 2 days a week where it happens. And
interesting.
Anytime you do a pre-sorted letter, which is the majority of direct mail that's out there, right? Like postcards, even our postcards are pre-sorted still, but they still look better. But that gets lumped in with all the junk mail. So you have a higher opportunity if people just, hey, it's crap mail day. No bills, cool, it's all getting thrown out. So what we kind of did is we started real heavily with letters with real live first class stamps, and we'll actually mail those to our clients. So we send them to you guys up in Spokane, send them to clients in California, New York, Florida, wherever they are, and have them drop it in the mail. And our kind of rule of thumb is you want to put it in the mail a day or two before junk mail hits. And that way you know you have 3 days basically till your mail hits, and you avoid your mail getting lumped in. And that just makes that open rate so much higher, with the fact that it is a letter with a first class stamp. It's handwritten, and there's no company information on the front. So like you get it and you're like, who's sending me an invite to something? Like what is going on? Why do I have this? And here, I actually have some on my desk. I lied. So this is what they'll look like, where
there you go.
This one has a sample, so it does say Ballpoint Marketing, but for you guys, Dan, do we use your name on your mail?
No, we've used everybody's name. What do we use now, Mike? Do we use your name again?
It varies. So we have to stop using mine because I'm starting to index on Google for like this sort of stuff. And you'll see like videos of like me and Ryan talking about us making like $100,000 and sellers don't like things like that.
So anyway, we usually put someone's first and last name on here. Right. And then that way there's no identifying marks. Like I can now pick out mail where I'm like, yeah, that's junk. I'm not even going to open it and waste my time. Where these have like a 99% open rate. And the response rates on them, we see anywhere from like 1% to 2%, which, to boil it down to make it easy, like equates to an average acquisition cost for most people between like $2,500 and $3,500. There's areas it's better, there's areas it's a little higher, but nationwide with the people we work with, like that's been consistent for the last 3 or 4 years from what we've seen.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that point is super key, and that sets a good expectation for people, because one of the biggest things we always get pushback on with mail is how expensive it is compared to like, cold calling. You can go hire someone in Pakistan to cold call for you for like $500 a month, but it's not going to be as effective. And you're also, you're spending your time interrupting people's day as opposed to getting people raise their hand that want to, talk to you. Yeah. And I think having that metric, so historically our average cost is about $3,200. You said $2,500 to $3,500 is sort of the average you've seen across the nation. And when you're starting out, that seems expensive. You're like, man, $3,500, that's a lot of money. But if you're making like a $15,000, $17,000, $40,000 wholesale fee, who really cares?
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
ROI on that is massive.
Well, and it's just math too. That's a great thing. Is like, I think, if we're at 3,200, I want to say we've averaged, we'll just assume $17,000 a fee.
It's 23 and a half is our average.
Our average. Okay. I'm sorry. I undershot us a bit. So I feel like we were at 17 at some point in history. Why is that in my head? But
because it was back when Bethany was around.
Okay.
With some of the huge deals we've had over the past,
scaled it.
Like I've scaled it. Yeah.
But it is a numbers game. And the KPIs, it's like, you could say, you've grown to that, but it's like, well, that is our average fee. Even if we pulled a 6-figure fee, it averages out. And say you're going to do one deal a month. My math was going to work out really good in my head, but say you're going to do one deal a month at 3,200, and if it's, what'd you say our average fee was? Or
23 and a half.
23 and a half. So minus overhead, you're at like say $19,000 a month in profit if you're running a slim business with one deal a month. That's almost $240,000 a year.
Yeah, and the way we teach it with our clients is it is just a repeatable formula. Right? Like you want one deal a month, cool. Send out $3,500 worth of mail. Understand that it's going to take 2 to 3 months to get the momentum that you're needing. Get leads, nurturing.
That's key.
Right. Like I have people that come in, they're like, I didn't get a deal off my first one. I'm like, yeah, that's okay. Like
that happens.
Keep going. It happens.
We're talking averages here. We're talking averages.
It takes time. Like there's also the average of like 12 touch points before a deal typically happens. So, really it's a repeatable formula. If you want 3 deals a month, okay, cool. We'll spend $10,000 a month. If you want 5 deals a month, cool. We'll spend 15 to 17, so on and so forth. And it just allows you to, as long as you can build your systems to match what you're doing and handle the leads in the amount of deal flow that are going to be coming in. It's a very easy, repeatable process to make sure that you know what's going to be coming back in. To where, like, now, I'll give you an example. One of the markets we are in is Baton Rouge, and we dropped 40,000 postcards in August. And so it was like 26, 27 grand in marketing. And
Wow.
like, it's a little nerve wracking spending that much money at once, but we pulled out 9 deals so far out of it.
Nice.
That's
And
awesome.
our average cost per acquisition on it's like $2,100 right now. And I
That's
think
great.
the fees that we'll make on that 25 grand we spent will be well over 150
That's amazing.
from that campaign. So,
Yep.
you know, if I was uncomfortable or didn't understand I'm trying to say, like, basically that now that I know the formula, I don't have a problem putting money into it to spit out the result at the end.
It's a lot easier to spend the money when you've proven it.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
the numbers don't lie.
Yeah. For me, like, if you threw me into texting, I'd be like, I don't know, like, I hope this works, but I don't know anything about it.
Yep.
You know, so.
Yeah, and it's good as you build up to have like a mix, because different people respond to different stuff too. So that's like why, you know, start with one thing, become an expert at it, start at like direct mail, and then, you know, as that starts to grow, you know, maybe add in some texting, because people will just throw all their mail in the trash, but maybe they'll respond to a text message. As that starts to grow, maybe add some PPC marketing, because there's some people that don't want to, you know, engage via mail. They don't want to make the first phone call. You know, they don't want to respond to a cold caller, but if they can go and submit a website form, you know, they're going to be more interested in engaging with you that way, right? And it's all just about adding on those different layers as you sort of become an expert in one.
Totally. And I'm glad you said that too, because I don't think most people getting into real estate realize that like the general feeling I get from people I talk to is like, it's a get rich quick scheme, right? Like it's a way to make money real quick, and it's not a business, so to speak, right? Where if you look at any successful business, right, like Walmart, Home Depot, like all these big national brands, they do all of those forms of marketing. Every single one.
They do.
Like SEO, PPC, YouTube ads, Facebook, direct mail. Like, I get direct mail from Walmart. I get direct mail from Amazon. I get direct mail from all of these other companies, and they're building a, like you said, like a cohesive brand awareness campaign, essentially, that what you're going to respond to is where they're going to target. And that's what they're trying, is making sure that they've got a well-rounded business, where if Amazon was only doing direct mail, it's not possible, obviously, but like, if you think of a big brand that was only doing direct mail and only doing text messaging, you're losing out on so much opportunity. That's
For sure.
Yeah. And I think what you said there is super key. It's about creating that cohesive brand awareness, right? And having those different touch points over a long period of time that make people be familiar with that brand. And that's what makes them be willing and interested in doing a transaction with you.
Yep.
And that's the other thing too, with people, you know, saying it's a quick get rich quick scheme. The number one thing we find with a lot of new investors is, like what you said before, they need 2 to 3 months to start to get traction. Most people after month one, they like panic. Like, I just wasted $3,000. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yep.
Or then like they'll think of it such a get quick rich scheme that they won't even like really understand or pretend to try and understand the struggles that other people who are where they want to be went through to get there. I mean, even Dan, like, we've grown. I feel like it feels relatively quick, but you know, I've been investing now for coming up on 5 years almost, right? It's like 4.5 years. And like the first year that I quit my W-2, and I just went and was like basically a bum for a whole year, just tried to figure out what the hell I want to do. I went from making a engineering W-2 salary to make, I mean, $15,000 in 2018.
Dude.
Yep.
Right. And now, you know, we very regularly make 2x, 3x that a month.
Yeah.
Right. When I made that entire year. But like, I went through a bunch of bullshit to get to that point.
Yeah, it was not.
Right?
It was not quick get rich overnight.
No. And it can appear that way, right, when you look in the rearview mirror. But it's, you know, there's a lot of time, and everyone, you know, I don't think there's any way to really get around that except for dumb luck, which does happen,
Or fraud.
It does.
but or fraud,
yeah.
or fraud.
I was going to say, most of the, if you get rich quick results, I'd be concerned on like any thing that's out there, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you go in month 2, you're making $1 million, like, sure, it happens, but the vast majority, it takes time to build to that. You know, when I started with Call Porter, we were doing like $9,000 a month, and like that did not get much higher for the first year. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, just building the systems to now we're doing, not giving exact numbers, over $500,000 a month between those two companies in revenue that are coming in. And it's like, yeah, if I went day 1A, I wouldn't have been the person that could handle that. Like if I had what I do now 5 years ago, I'd have been like, what? I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know how to do any of this. I don't have the personal development to handle the stress of having 60 employees or, or how to manage to the point now where like I can afford to work 30 hours a week and everything still runs perfectly. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's the get rich quick stuff.
It takes time to build those systems. And when we interview people that are successful, those are the first things Mike and I key in on is like how they built the systems to lead their business. Because you could win the lottery overnight, but it doesn't mean you know how to use that money or leverage that money or have the systems to deploy that money. And so when you're talking about slowly building it up, you're taking your licks. Yeah, sure. You always want it to go faster, but there's nothing wrong in taking the time to build those strong systems. And by the time you are scaled, you're like, oh yeah, this isn't that bad.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Someone like early on, I think it was my business coach, Chris Robinson at the time. He had hit me with a quote that he had heard from somebody that said, most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and wildly underestimate what they can accomplish in 5.
For sure.
And like,
yep, I've heard that.
What I was trying to do.
Is that your phone?
Yeah, I don't know why that popped up. That was weird. I was like,
sorry, I won't judge you for the ringtone or the fact that you have your phone not on vibrate. Like,
it is on vibrate. That's why I'm wondering.
Ring in 4
years. That is weird.
It is on vibrate. It's something. Dude, I don't know. It says on air. I don't know what the hell it is. That was real weird. I thought it was like, is this closing music? Or are we done?
we're closing you off the stage, playing you off, man.
We're gonna see a giant
play off stage,
like pull them on.
The big silver microphone's gonna come back out and hit you in the face.
Yeah, right. Oh, I forgot what I was saying. Like underestimating what you can do in 5 years, right? Like,
right.
Where I'm at now, I wished I would have been at 5 years ago, but I'm glad I wasn't. Like we were just talking about, you're not gonna be given more than you can handle. From
for sure
whatever you believe, like God, universe, whatever, like you're typically not going to be given more than you can actually handle, because otherwise that's why when people win the lottery they go broke, because they don't know how to handle money, and they give half of it away, spend the other half on whatever. So anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought after that, but
well, that's good, because I want to ask you a way more important question than bullshit we're talking about right now, which is paramotoring, because Mike knows that this is like kind of one of my things. I like to do adventurous kind of things where you could almost die. Like that's one of my things. Yeah. And I kind of have this loose. I haven't formed it yet, but watching you and Ryan and Drew actually on social flying, Drew's really big into it. Like it's got me thinking, like, how did you get into that? Like what would you say to somebody thinking about getting into that sport? Cause I think that's cool. Hobby that you've picked up.
If I can do it, just do it. The first time I did it was 2019. I was in LA for a conference, and Ryan tricked me into doing paragliding. He was like, "Hey, I paid for it. We're going." And I was like, "No, we're not." It was $300. And at that point, like, that was a lot of money for us.
Yeah.
And he's like, "So you're going." So I did it there, and I loved it. Like, it was terrifying at first. And then I was like, "Can we go again? And again, and again." And we spent like a whole afternoon doing it. So if that's something you want to do, find a reputable school. Don't try and teach yourself, because that's how you die, is teaching yourself and doing stupid things. The cool thing about this sport is it's the cheapest form of aviation that you can get into out of any other form, and it is one of the safest.
It's
dangerous. Safe. Yes, very safe.
Okay. Do you get a reserve parachute too, in case like everything fails? 2 reserves. Okay.
Yep. Okay. You can fly with one, and honestly, with the wing I have, because it's built to be more of a beginner wing that you can do intermediate stuff on. Like, I flew for months without a reserve until I got one, and it's
okay.
So there's certain weather you have to avoid, certain times of day you have to avoid, but going to a good school, I can point you in the right direction. Training took like a week and a half. And by the end of the week, I had 30 flights in, like 30 hours worth of flying, or
No shit.
probably not 30 hours, probably 20 hours. So like it's intense for that training time.
Right.
And then, I think all in with training, it was like 12 grand with gear.
That's not bad. With the gear?
Training and everything. Yeah.
Oh.
So it's literally all I think about. And like, I'm kind of bummed because it's real windy here for the next like 6 days and I can't get out at all. And I'm like, I'm itching to go. It's been a while since I've flown.
Yeah. I love your enthusiasm. It gets me excited because I have a friend too that lives like, he just moved. He was like a half a mile from me. And I'm like, okay, so we have this field. Like we live in a neighborhood, but we have this like 50-acre field next to my house.
Yeah.
I'm like, I bet I could take off right there and land right there.
Probably, as long as
it'd be super convenient.
Yeah, as long as you're not in like commercial airspace or near commercial.
We might be. I mean, I'm okay with breaking the law.
Well, you that.
You're not.
That
you're not
FAA will come find you real quick.
Yeah.
But like, dude, I've had times where like I've taken off at the beach. I've taken off in a football field behind a middle school. I have taken off at a like smaller regional airport. So you can really have so much more freedom. And this is, I'm just going to show you, but this is a picture I took earlier this year while flying.
Oh, that's badass.
That's cool.
Over like a little like waterway out by us. And like, you can't do that in a plane. You can't fly 5 feet above the ground in a plane.
No.
Where you can with this. And it's so much fun, like seeing kids like looking around and like waving at you and, kind of do some little tricks and stuff. It's a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Dude,
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm gonna call you offline. We're gonna talk about this.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
There you go, Dan. Put that on your one sheet. Go get your.
I've got
it's gonna be on my one sheet.
I've got like 4 people that I've gotten into it so far, and I'm like, all right, cool, let's go. Asa is supposed to be getting into it.
Oh, nice.
Yep, he's wanting to get into it. One of my buddies here in St. Louis just got his training done. So yeah, dude, it's very, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like, it's just so much fun, so free.
Yeah,
I love it.
So yeah, call me anytime.
We'll do.
Cool. So on that tangent, you guys can go like snuggle or something after.
Ooh, I want to snuggle up to that beard. It looks so comfy.
Yeah, if you guys check us out on YouTube, Justin's beard is just very, very
it's on
majestic.
point.
He's put some work.
Well,
into
thank
it.
you.
Sexy beast.
Yeah, but
someone noticed.
Yeah, I mean, my wife notices. She says I'm like a child without it, so I have to keep it. But.
Yeah.
That's funny. But yeah, so either way, so super awesome. So I've covered this between Call Porter and Ballpoint. I think that the services you're providing are really, really good and are super valuable for anyone that's looking to invest or, is looking to make their investing business less of a pain in the ass or have better results. Yeah. I mean, you got 2 great services right here. So to roll out the show, we are going to go into our end of show questions.
Cool.
First question, which is the crowd favorite. What is the craziest real estate investing story that you have? And I have one caveat. Let's not make it about finding a dead person in a property.
We've had a lot of dead people.
We've had a lot of
I was going to say, one of them, we didn't find the dead person, but the lady did die in the house before we bought it. I got a good one for you. I got a good one. So the deal we talked about earlier, excuse me, the deal we talked about earlier where we had our lead manager go through and they found the deal and got it with the squatter, right? So that is in a place called DeSoto, Missouri. It's kind of like, it's in the country. It's very, very rural. So the first time we went and looked at this house, the guy that we talked to, he was like, the owner of the house. He's like, look, it's my house. I've owned it for 20 years. My daughter was living there, and I think her boyfriend is there now. And he's like, I've tried to get him, her ex-boyfriend, tried to get him to leave, hasn't left. And, but I do want to sell this property. I want to get out of it. So feel free to go by, if he's not there. If there's no one there, great. Go in, check the property out. Like, here's, the back door's always open, yada, yada, yada. So we pull up, or I wasn't there. Our guy doing acquisitions was. He pulls up, and it's a long, like, wooded driveway. So, like, quarter mile, maybe, like, long wooded driveway down to these, essentially a mobile home on, like, really weird piece of property where, like, part of it sloped up real high down, basically so water can just pour onto the property the whole time.
Nice.
Where the house is. And so he pulls up and he starts looking around and sees that someone's there. So He starts turning around. He's like, all right, there's a squatter. The squatter must be here. So he starts leaving, and he sees this guy starts running towards the truck, like running after him. And he's like, okay. He's like, so our guys carry guns, like just in case. We're in Missouri, so we're allowed to. So he's like, I've got it just in case. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And this guy ends up getting closer and closer to the truck. And as he's like yelling stuff at him, like, what are you doing? What do you want? Get the fuck off my property. And this whole time he can see the property next to him, another truck that's driving at like 40, 50 miles an hour. All the dirt's coming behind it, trying to cut him off and hold him in this property or on the driveway of this property. And he's like, fucking cut him off. Don't let him leave. Don't let him leave. And our guy Ron was like, there's not a chance in hell I'm staying here. So he just floored it right past the guy right before he was able to cut him off. But he was like, that was the most terrifying 30 seconds of my life I've ever had. Where
they're going to wear his skin that night. That's what they're trying to do.
I wasn't sure if I was going to be shooting somebody or not. But he was like, I think the guy originally came out and pounded on his hood and was like, what the hell are you doing here? And then he was like, no, I'm leaving. And was able to get away. And I guess it was another guy that was squatting on the property that drove around the back of the property once he was there to try and cut him off on the front.
So these are just squatters for sure then.
Oh yeah, like through and through. They were claiming because they had been there coming up on 10 years that they had squatters' rights and the property was theirs.
Yeah.
And like just all kinds of crazy stuff, which I don't know how Washington is, and for those of you listening, Missouri is very landlord friendly. Very landlord friendly.
Nice.
Yes, we're like California, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Washington's not so landlord friendly.
Yeah,
we can't drag people out of our houses.
Oh yeah, Missouri is very lenient on stuff like that. So anyway, he didn't end up getting the property long term, and we wholesaled it. So worked out great.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, that's probably our craziest one so far.
Yeah, it has a happy ending.
It has a happy ending.
I do have a second one if you want.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Why not?
All right. Also involves guns. Baton Rouge in our other market. Guy, Asa, who we work with down there, had just gone to closing with the seller. Comes back to the house to meet the guy that he wholesaled it to, and show him a couple things. And as they're there standing in the driveway talking, a drive-by happens 2 houses down. Like,
oh, no way.
He's like, yeah,
just pop.
Car just pulled up, rolled down the window, started firing like the other direction, luckily. But yeah, so we changed where we market to in Baton Rouge now.
You're like, that zip code's off limits now?
Yeah, that's an area we're not in anymore. So no more crack houses for us right now.
Crack is whack, man.
Yeah, crack is cheap.
That's fair. I don't know if our guy's ever been in any like legitimate danger. Like
no, James is too much of a pussy. He'd run. I know he's going to listen to this. So
crazy situations, and they happened pretty close to each other over the summer. And I was just really? Yeah, we need to like we're now targeting more like Final Village-y type, asset classes instead of like beater hood houses that you can't really do much with. So yeah, it's a little safer.
Gee. Awesome. Those are good ones. All right. Second question. What is a tip you would have for a new investor looking to get started investing or a small investor looking to take their business to the next level?
There's so many of them that you could give.
What's your number one tip?
I know you said most of the people that listen are maybe not in this part of their journey, but work on yourself and your business will grow. Personal development is one of the most important things that I have done, and one of the things I spend the most money on. Like, I've got a business coach. I've had multiple business coaches. I'm in coaching programs. Like, the thing that I have found and seen is most issues that come up in your business are typically due to a personal hang-up that you have that you don't realize, and you're neglecting something. So it's not always fun. It's not always like the sexy, like I made $20,000, but the things that have helped me get to the point to where like, I could be gone for a week and our company's run without me being here is because I worked on personal stuff to be able to hire the right people, set up the right processes, have the right mindset around running and growing a business to get to that point. So that's, I mean, yeah, I can't even tell you how much money we've spent on personal development stuff just to help us get to where we are.
Yeah. I mean, that is
great
awesome.
advice.
Like, I think that, being involved in groups, communities, working with like-minded people, it is super major. And that is definitely a direct contributor to, Dan and I getting started.
Yep.
Joining CCF, that was like the game changer for us.
Yeah.
Just building out the group there. And then, even now we're in GoBundance, and the guys that we've met through that are super invaluable.
It helps you level up for sure.
And then,
oh yeah.
And that's not even direct one-on-one stuff. It's just, but you run into people there that you vibe with, that you can sort of help. They almost accidentally help you sometimes, just talking about business, and someone that's willing to, have those tough conversations with you. And, the ways you can find that, if, you don't necessarily know people like that in your immediate life, is you pay for it. And that's perfectly okay.
Yeah, it is okay.
People, a
I
lot
mean,
of people, they kind of turn away at that, but you can pay for that luxury to be around people or to hire someone to have those conversations with, and there will be an ROI if you're effective with it. So
yeah, the best advice I got on that, just getting into different circles, is there's two ways to do it. You serve your way in, or you pay your way in. Those are the two different ways to do it. If you don't have money, that's great. Find someone in your market who's doing what you're doing and where you want to be, and find a way to serve your way into their life. I don't know if you guys are the same, but I hate when I get emails like, "Hey, can I take you out to lunch and pick your brain?" No,
the worst.
No, you can't. I'm sorry. Unless I have a previous relationship with you and I know you, no, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
But if somebody came to me and was like, "Hey, I do this, and I would love to learn how to do what you're doing. Can I come in and help out for free and just learn from you?" Okay, I'm a little more interested at that point, because there's a benefit to me.
It's a two-way street.
It's not a one-sided road, right?
Yep.
So, a good example from one of my business coaches who wanted to get public speaking is he didn't know anything about public speaking, didn't know where to start. So he reached out to people and was like, "Hey, can I volunteer next time you do an event? Whatever it is, I'll be there. I'll help. I don't care what it is." And he got a call and was like, "Hey, my camera guy's sick. Can you run a camera?" And he's like, "Yeah. Yep, sure can."
Yep.
Looked up a couple of YouTube videos, went and ran a camera, and now he speaks all over the world. So
that's amazing.
Pay to play or serve your way in.
Yeah, and his footage was shit, but it didn't even matter. He spent the whole time zoomed in too far. It was blurry.
But he showed up for the job.
Yeah, exactly.
Showed up, and now he's surpassed that person on the public speaking level.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
It's crazy. That's awesome.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, that's good advice. All right, last question. Where can people find you, follow you, and reach out to you if you'd like them to do so? And I also know that you have a new offering that you want to talk about as well.
Yes.
So you can put that in here.
So company-wise, ballpointmarketing.com, callporter.com. Both of those are also on Instagram. I don't know the handles off the top of my head. I can get them to you if you need them, though.
We'll put them in the show notes.
Cool. So you can get that. Social media, it's just Justin Dossey on Instagram is where I'm most active. Again, I don't know my handle, so I'll get that to you as well. So connect with us there. And, any of the stuff we've talked about, if you want to hop on any calls, it's real easy. Ballpointmarketing.com/schedule and callporter.com/schedule. If you want to hop on the call with either of our team on the sales side, ask any questions, go through anything. That's going to be the easiest way to do it.
Perfect. Cool. And on the products you guys have too, if you guys go to collectingkeyspodcast.com and you scroll down to our partner section on the front of the homepage, we actually have some discount codes there.
Yes.
For people that wants to check out your services.
Yeah. So do that instead of go to the schedule call, unless you have a lot of questions, then we'll answer you. Either way, we'll make it work.
Perfect.
Cool. Yeah. So new offering that we have that I want to just kind of put out there. It's a new thing that we've done. We've noticed a lot in coaching and working with thousands of clients over the last couple of years is there's not a done for you, not even done for you, but an all-inclusive type service, right? Where you can have CRM, you can have data, you can have your leads answered, you can have leads come into you, you can have your leads managed. You typically have to spread out and go to 5 or 6 different places to get that stuff done. So we put a lot of thought and time into this over the last 6 months or so and have done different variations of it. And we've basically got it's not on our website, I will say that. So if you do a call with us, let us know that you heard about this from Mike and Dan so we can get discounts applied to it. It's called Lead Engine. And essentially what this is there is a 7-month process. You're only committed to 3, then it just automatically renews for the full 7. And what it basically does is we'll provide your data. We will provide you with a CRM through Resimpli. So we partnered with Resimpli on this. Data is from Deal Machine as well. So if you need driving for dollars, Deal Machine is the place to get it from. We will then send out direct mail through Ballpoint Marketing using your phone numbers from Resimpli. Call Porter will take all of the calls. And as an add-on, we haven't worked this in yet, we'll also do the lead management side for a separate fee of that $500. We've got a couple different tiers, but it's basically $1 per piece on postcards. I think it's $1.20 on letters. And so essentially, like, you're paying $3,000 a month to have 2,500 letters go out, and that includes the CRM, the data, the mail, and the phone calls all in one. And then we do a monthly, like, office hours phone call with myself and our COO, Jeremy, where we go through questions, concerns, ideas, stuff that we've talked about on here on just best practices in marketing or running your business. Really, it's an open book. So any questions that come up, you guys can hop on once a month. I think it's the first Tuesday of each month is when we'll be doing them, but really allows you to get in, get the data, get started, but we also make you commit for 90 days so you can see the leads come through and get your traction running instead of just doing 1 month and being done. Like, that's not going to help you, not going to help me. So we're there to help kind of push you through the first 90 days and then keep it going from there, where you get a new letter or a new postcard every single month, new copy, just depending on the packages that you choose. So that's something that will apply the same discounts that we give you guys. I think it's 10% off. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. So it's 10% off on Ballpoint, and then I don't remember what it is for Call Porter.
We just changed that, so I don't either. But
yeah,
we'll figure it out. We'll put it in the show notes.
15%, something like that.
Yeah,
we'll put it in the notes. Follow the notes.
There you go.
But yeah, if you're interested in that, it's not on our sites anywhere yet. So just go to ballpointmarketing.com/schedule, because that is a Ballpoint Marketing product. So do that. We'll get you on the books and go over a consulting call and see how we can help you.
Right on.
Sounds
great. Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on the call. On the podcast, Justin. Appreciate it. And if you guys have any interest or questions in any of the products that Justin runs, you can get our discounts to get some cheaper options for their product, which are definitely worth it. CollectingKeysPodcast.com. Just scroll down to where it says partners. You can get our codes there, and that will help you get started for a little bit less. If you have any questions about it, reach out to Justin everywhere that he said. We'll put all those links in the show notes as well. And aside that, from guys, if you want to know just kind of like the general basis about how to start generating leads as well and how to start building your business with a sort of free read, you can get our 5-step guide to start generating off-market leads at collectingkeyspodcast.com/free. So just go and grab that, and that will sort of give you the basic gist about what you'll be getting yourself into if you decide to get into this business. So aside from that, you guys, thanks so much for listening, and talk to you guys next week.
See ya.
Cool.
Thanks for listening. Please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out at collectingkeyspodcast.com for tips and guides on starting your own real estate investment and wholesaling business.